His reviews will get you further than the film will ever go. If you give him just a moment of your time, he'll let you know which movies rock, which movies stink, which movies shouldn't have been released. Say hello to Confused Matthew.
You know, what am I even supposed to say about this movie? You tell me what I'm even supposed to say about this movie. Nothing happened! This movie is called Alien vs. Predator, but if they titled the thing honestly, it should have been called A Bunch of Anonymous People Walking Around a Boring and Generic Soundstage with Flashlights. The premise of the film is simple. There are aliens from the Alien franchise, there are predators from the Predator franchise, and these two things are versus one another. So why are the writers trying to pretend that this movie is something more complicated than that? They even throw in a little joke at the beginning of the film by having the characters watching Frankenstein vs. Wolfman. Well, if that's all the kind of movie you're making here, then fine, but at least be honest about that. Turns out there's a pyramid underground in Antarctica that contains writings from 3 separate cultures, so Whalen organizes a team to go down and investigate it. In short, who gives a shit? Get on with the damn monster fight! I'm not even suggesting here that having these two franchises be reduced to a stupid fight between one another is a good idea, but if that's the movie you're making, then make that movie for God's sake! I mean, obviously they have to set up some foot-in-the-door reason for the humans to get down there, but you just wouldn't believe how much time they spend on all of this irrelevant crap. Remember me complaining about the scene in Star Trek Generations where they all lumber around the empty space station with flashlights? Well, imagine if that was the first 25 minutes of the movie. We begin with a roundup scene, which I hate in pretty much any film, but here it's even worse. Not a single one of these characters can even claim to be a character at all. Every one of them could just as easily be replaced with a crash test dummy holding a sign that says Alien Buffet. Occasionally we will see a shot of the aliens or the predators in the beginning, but it's only for a few seconds, then the film jump cuts back to all the nameless rabble of red shirts. Most of this film is filled up with these people wandering through dark corridors and talking about what's around them. They find a statue of a predator and realize that the thing on its shoulder is a gun. They find a chamber where something seems to have popped out of a human's chest. Well, good for them, but we already know what this stuff is. So most of this film is spent with these anonymous characters discovering things that we already know. The film was written and directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, so it looks like we have got a twofer here. The man sucks as a writer and as an action director. In the beginning of the film, we have one of the worst lines I've ever heard in my life. The lady who is leading the expedition through the frozen tundra tells her team, unexpected things will happen out there, and when it does, don't try to be a hero. Well, what the hell is that supposed to mean? If a team member falls through a sheet of thin ice, don't help them? Well, there are plenty of times where these characters, including the female lead, are in trouble and someone puts their own life at risk to help them. And not once did the woman ever say, "No, stop trying to pull me back onto the ledge, don't be a hero." Fuck you. The line was just put in there to make this woman sound in charge. No one's buying that. If a 3-year-old were to backhand this lady, she'd probably just run away crying. And as for the action, the film basically boils down to having about 1.5 actual fights between the aliens and the predators. And the fights suck. Anderson doesn't know how to set up a shot. The angles are bad, and the confrontations are shot so close that I can't tell what's supposed to be the predator's hand and what's supposed to be the alien's scrotum. Even the very lighting of this film brings it down. I only ever quote other critics when they've said something better than I could. So here goes. Ed Halter described the film's lighting as black on black in blackness. And the individual scenes with the aliens and predators suck just as hard. Anderson fucking cuts too much. I will never forget seeing Alien for the first time when the guy was crawling around in the ducts, turns his flashlight slightly to the left, and the thing was right there in front of him. That scared the piss out of me. But what do we get here? Reaction shot of a human, cut to the alien looking at him. Cut to reaction shot of the human, cut to the alien baring teeth. Then move in on the human like he's being attacked by the camera or something. When we know it's coming, and we know where it's coming from, it's not scary. Now, we don't care about the human characters in this film, and the aliens and predators aren't really good or bad anyway. They're just monsters in this one. So what's at stake here? People in this movie are always shouting, "You can't let the aliens get to the surface." Well, what's gonna happen if they do? Even if the aliens get loose or the predators detonate their nukes on the surface, they're in Antarctica! In the beginning of the film, we have the female lead make the comment that Antarctica is the last truly free place on Earth, that it's the only place left that no one owns. Well, you know why no one owns it? Because no one wants it! There's nothing there! What idiot decided to set this thing in one of the most barely populated regions in the world? Any monster or alien getting out of this place makes no difference to anything but the fucking penguins. But the biggest problem this film has is how incredibly boring the aliens and predators come off. In their own franchises, these were some really menacing monsters. They were these mysterious beings peering out at us from the darkness, waiting to strike, and each new film gave us new information about them. But here, more is certainly less. Having lots of the aliens and predators running around makes them all a diamond in a sea of diamonds. There's nothing special about it here. It's all just routine. We already know what they do, so we already know what they're going to do. That is, when they do anything at all in this film. It's not even like they got these two sci-fi classics on screen together to have them do their thing. They're just there. You know, I really appreciate everyone's support, and so I try my best to make these reviews somewhere in the general vicinity of 10 minutes long. But I'm sorry, I just don't know what else to say about this hunk of shit. I actually thought about reading passages from Adler's 4 Dimensions of Philosophy just to fill the time. That's how bad this movie is. So here's the one and only thing I can say about the film that isn't completely hate-filled. After sitting through all the bad camera angles, dark rooms with nothing in them, and terribly shot nothing fights, you might get a sense of mild amusement watching the Queen running around in the end. But it's just not worth your time to get there. Alien vs. Predator is a disgrace, both to what on their own amounts to 2 outstanding franchises, as well as to the human race in general. But let's see if they get it right the next time around.